Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rolf KUBY and I'm the director of Euromines, the European Mining Association. Now you might think, what is raw materials mining industry doing in the program about skills and talents here at the Green Week? Isn't all it needs a few engineers who teach digging the otherwise mostly male cohort who likes heavy and dirty machines and miss the part of the brain responsible for the risk analysis? Well, if you thought that, then this debate is definitely for you. This debate is also for all of those who are aware how much the European mining industry is used and needed to continue to set the pace on sustainability, safety, environmental and community protection. So why do we discuss the topic of building skills and talents for sustainable raw materials industry? The modern economy increasingly relies on access to raw materials such as lithium, cobalt, nickel and rare earth elements. They are needed to meet the goals of the industrial and urban green transition. They are needed for electrification and building in renewable energy capacity. They are indispensable for digital, transport, defense, pharma and many more modern economic sectors. It is estimated that the raw materials industry will require in Europe 1.2 million jobs in the upcoming decades. And here comes the challenge. To achieve these objectives, the European mining industry chooses to meet the growing demand sustainably and with minimal environmental impact. And this choice drives the need to develop innovative technologies, the adoption of best practices, and above all, access to skilled workforces. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to express my gratitude to the European Commission for organizing the European Green Week, providing this platform for meaningful discussions and sustainability and the future of the raw materials mining industry. I also extend my sincere thanks to the estimated panelists and keynote speakers who have generously agreed to share their insights and expertise with us here today. Enjoy the Euromines debate, building skills and talents for sustainable raw materials industry. And now I wish you all a fruitful discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, the global demand for critical raw materials is increasing. The value chains based on them are becoming increasingly complex, and concerns over the security of their supplies are pushing Europe to become more strategically independent and innovative. At the heart of all these new challenges and opportunities are skills and talents. Indeed, according to Big Picture's estimates of the number of employees needed beyond the raw materials itself to serve strategically important industrial sectors, a study by McKinsey and the European Raw Materials Alliance, ERMA, identified a need of more than 32 million jobs by 2030, with more than 8 million of these jobs that are estimated being related to the raw and advanced material value chain. And we do estimate from a recent study that within this, more than 1.2 million jobs would be needed in the renewables and e-mobility sectors by 2030. These figures issue a stark warning of the education sector, which is to equip a new, highly modernized raw materials sector in Europe with the right human capital to operate it. And the Raw Materials Academy developed so far by our organization has already laid a strong foundation to meet these ambitious targets to the scale and scope required. Indeed, and to date, EIT Raw Materials has supported over 300 learners with more than 100 education projects developed, including more than 40 master's education programs and 20 PhD schools programs and 40 lifelong learning courses, all covering the entire life cycles of learning. Nearly 70% of our master graduates found a job in the industry, illustrating the perfect alignment of these courses with industry needs, and we will be able to provide more than 250 new graduates, students for EIT level master programs annually on the market by 2024 and onwards. In parallel with the fundamental shift from the brown to green energy, in which raw materials are the key enablers of the energy transition, skill and upskilling of engineers, technicians, and workers will be essential to support the target of these 1.2 million jobs that would be needed in the raw material sectors for e-mobility and renewable energy. Through the development of learning modules on many different topics, we already have invested in the ones developed so far, like data engineering and digitalization for innovative ways to operate in exploration and mining operations, robots and drones for mine inspection, process automation for mining, mineral processing and refining operations, mineral and chemistry physics to improve the yield of extraction in an environmentally friendly ways, as well as multidisciplinary approach, including social science to facilitate SLO and permitting. But much more is to do to tackle the coming energy transition challenges. And it's why a new European Raw Materials Academy with an ambitious program to train more than 500,000 raw and advanced materials professionals by 2030 for the renewables and e-mobility sectors is under development in our organization. This will include educating young talents to revamp the strategic raw materials value chains, upskilling the existing workforce to implement the new technologies currently under development, and reskilling workers transitioning out of the fossil fuel industry. And EIT Raw Materials, which already offers an excellent educational portfolio in the raw and advanced material sectors, is uniquely positioned to establish it. This academy will be built upon 3 pillars. The first, education, by building on EIT Raw Materials' existing learning offerings, scaling up the portfolio of customizing course in terms of level and target audience needs, and collaborating with educational startups to design innovative curricula focusing on transversal skills development such as entre and intrapreneurship. Secondly, RawMatch, a data-driven talent placement platform, will be crucial in supporting the raw material industry and other identified target groups such as startups, investors, and governments to scout and place talent successfully and to train the existing workforce on raw materials. And thirdly, the Regional Talent Booster, a truly pan-European skills development program which will help EU regions with a shrinking labor force and low education level to nurture their talents. This new Raw Materials Academy, led by EIT Raw Materials, will signal the dawn of a new industry era, providing Europeans with one of the world's most modernized raw and advanced material sector that is set to transition Europe's leaner brown economy to a circular green economy through the electrification, automation, and digitalization of every industrial process. With this, unprecedented levels of jobs will be created, driving greater competition with those beyond our boundaries, highly resilient value chains, a cleaner living environment, and a stabilization of the global temperatures. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Johan Albinsson. I'm an HR and Safety Director at Boliden Mines.
and thank you for letting me talk about competence supply for the mining business. I will take it from 3 different challenges that we have and how we manage those today. I will start with the first one, which is around our location. Mines can't be moved. We are where we are, and we are placed in mostly in rural areas in the north part of Sweden and Finland. These are areas where the unemployment rate is very low and there is a high competition for labor, especially in the north part of Sweden, where we have a lot of investments in the green revolution. Still, I think we managed the situation quite well, especially when it comes to blue-collar population. We recruit locally, we are a known company, we are paying comparable well, above benchmark for local area. More challenging for us is to find competencies within the white-collar population. We need to recruit from other regions, other countries, and also outside European Union. What we do to meet these challenges is that we collaborate quite a lot with other major companies in the regions. We have one collaboration called T25 in the north part of Sweden, together with Northvolt, Green to Green Steel, LKAB. We also have internal functions like talent acquisition, mobility support to improve attractiveness. What we also need to work on, and that's more from the society perspective, is investments in housing infrastructure, so we have something to offer our new employees. Another challenge that we have is the view on our business. This is taken out from Google today, showing a dirty, dangerous business with only men, more or less, and nothing could be more wrong than that. Today we have a big variety of people, a diverse workforce, a lot of females, and we can offer a lot of different roles. We have counted to around 250 different roles, and many of them are very high technology. If we look at diversity, gender diversity, we've been working on that for many years. We're now at 23%, increasing, and we will continue on that route and create a more inclusive environment. We have a constant need of mining and processing engineers, geologists, people within our core business. But we see and foresee for the future a big increase in the need of specialists, especially in IT, environment, and automation. These are in a way new fields for us, so we collaborate a lot with universities to increase attraction for mining, and hopefully people within these fields will want to work for the mining business and for Boliden going forward instead of choosing other areas. What we also do is that we have a trainee program and a female professional program where we would like to increase the attractiveness for the company. The third challenge, and we share that one with many other companies, is around digitalization and automation. Many of the vehicles, machinery and trucks that we use in our business will becoming more automated or even autonomous driving. And just an example of the truck here to the right, it's one of these big 500-ton trucks in Aitik. We're now moving from having drivers in the trucks to have them without drivers. And this will mean a lot of new roles coming up. Instead of being a driver, people will work as pit patroller or maybe in the control room or dispatchers. And the way we deal with this is that we work with reskilling of own personnel, trainings. We also need to attract specialists from external, and this is a new field again for us, and we are in competition with many other companies. So the challenge here is to make them to want to work for us in the mining business and come to the areas where we are located. We have a lot of collaboration with suppliers and schools to meet also the needs for training. So this was a quick summary of the 3 different challenges that we have. Thanks you for listening.
My name is Petros Maraboutis, Managing Director of Eco-Efficiency Consulting Engineering, Ltd. and it's my pleasure to present the tools for the promotion of soft skills for occupational safety and health for extractive industries. These tools were the outcome of a project that was co-funded by the Social Dialogue Support Program of the European Commission and undertaken by the key players of the extractive industry, Euromines and Industry All. The project was also supported by operator, organization and workers, trade unions from Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland and Spain. Today we'll try in 5 minutes to present this project to explore the set of online tools that were developed and to take a quick look at the unique advantages these tools offer. Finally, I will try to give a hint of how this project can pave the way for a bright future for the mining industry by improving the health and safety of workers and image of the industry. I will start with the objectives of this project. The main goal was to improve the workers' and contractors' soft skills with respect to occupational safety and health, focusing mainly to the small-scale extractive sites. At the same time, we are trying to increase the collaboration between the operators and the mining workers. In addition, another objective was to develop the use of dynamic tools for self-improvement and revision for occupational safety and health needs. The main challenge of this project was the variable conditions of the extractive sites and activities around Europe and among the employees. For example, where employees of a mining company may have access to health and safety training, employees of contractors often do not. This creates another difficulty in managing health and safety. How we overcome these obstacles? We understand that this could only be achieved through continuous communication between all parties involved in a mining area. We also needed to identify new and emerging risks, prioritize them, and understand the motivation of workers, contractors, and site managers to comply with acute, passionate safety and health. And we must also find ways to ensure continuous review and progress. There was big support from association and federation from Brussels, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Spain. They have been kind enough to share their valuable experiences from the field, as well as material that will appear to the produced nationally with respect for health and safety. Gijsbert to set of tailor-made supporting tools for occupational safety and health, starting with the self-assessment tool for employees and for companies. This is a modular questionnaire to assess the individual status of health and safety, and another one for the assessment of the company's health and safety. Training materials specially designed to cover all, workers, managers, employers, contractors, etc. And finally, the promotion of this material through website, association, and federations. The idea is to enrich these tools in the future with the Train the Trainers project and coaching or create a smart application that will be accessible to all and will aim to inform, alert, and communicate health and safety issues. The self-assessment tool explores and enforces the emerging risk incorporation, monitoring, goal setting, and achievement collaboration and continuous improvement. A few more words about the self-assessment tool. It contains the emerging risks that were agreed with the association and federation. It can be used to prioritize needs, introduces goal settings, helps in planning, and organization of the occupational safety and health priorities. Promotes the collaboration between workers, employees, managers, and may be used for progress monitoring. The training material is modular and simplified, and is linked with the self-assessment tool. It is simplified as it is addressed to workers, managers, employers, contractors, etc. The added value is that encourages how the corporate in specific issues with respect to the health and safety. In the future, more member states should be involved, new training materials should be developed for upcoming risks, improvement of dissemination is needed with coaching and trainers training. New smart applications should be developed and a higher level of cooperation should be achieved. In this last slide, you can see a preview of the website that contains all the tools mentioned before. The material is available in 6 languages. It is an open website accessible by all. I must say that both the self-assessment tool and the training material encourage the continuous improvement of the individuals and the company's occupational safety and health situation. Thanks for your attention.
Welcome to this panel debate about skills in the raw materials sector organized by Euromines. Euromines is also co-developing a Europe-wide social dialogue with partners in the extractive industry, and skills is very much part of this push. This event is also part of the EU Green Week around the theme of delivering a net zero world. And as many of us know from the press and things we read, mining minerals and metals play a key part in the energy transition needed for this net zero world. And a big part of the upcoming European regulations, such as the Critical Raw Materials Act, the Net Zero Industry Act, an updated battery regulation, etc., lean heavily on securing access to these critical materials. However, if we don't know what to do with these materials, we will just be a bunch of people sitting on a pile of rocks, expensive rocks, but nevertheless. And this is why developing skills, the right skills, and the mobility of skills, providing a rewarding career path in this area is so important. And this is why 2023 is the EU Year of Skills. In this light, we have organized a panel conversation with 4 European leaders in education, employment, and skills. And I have them here on a panel, and I will introduce them shortly. My distinguished guests are Egbert Holthuis, Head of Unit at the European Commission's Director General for Employment, Didier Zimmermann, EIT Raw Materials Education and Innovation Director, Professor Lena Abrahamson of the Department of Social Sciences, Technology and Arts at Luleå Technical University in Sweden, who specializes in human work sciences. And lastly, Jesper Hedin, skills researcher at Svemin, the Swedish Association of Mines, Mineral and Metal Producers. My name is Gijsbert Wierink, and I am excited to moderate this panel discussion around building skills and talents for a sustainable raw materials industry over the coming 40-45 minutes or so. I will now ask our distinguished panel members to introduce themselves, and let's start with Egbert.
Thank you very much, Gijsbert, dear participants online, dear panel members. I'm very, very happy to be here part of this panel organized by Euromines on skills. In fact, my background in the Commission was also in the areas of steel and chemicals policy. Now I'm dealing with geographic responsibilities, also much concerned with skills, but I'm also the Deputy Director for the Skills Department. So this Skills Week is very timely, and again, I look forward to the discussions with you in the panel, the true experts, so to speak. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Didier. You're mute, I think.
All right. My name is Didier Zimmermann. I'm the Education and Innovation Director at EIT RawMaterials. That is an organization whose mission is to support, I would say, the supply of critical raw materials and raw materials in Europe. And this is by supporting, I would say, innovation and education and business creation. So coming now to education, we have so far developed a very large portfolio of learning modules for higher education, meaning master and doctoral school, but also for lifelong learning. And we are currently, able to mobilize these learning modules for attracting young students, but also for the reskilling and upskilling of workforces in the industry.
Thank you. Lena, could I ask you to introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you very much. I am Lena Abrahamson. I am professor in human work science at Luleå University of Technology, and I have been doing research in the mining sector, focusing on work environment, on health and safety, and organizational perspectives on that, but also on gender equality and the questions related to skills development. And also sustainable development in both the sector and in the society. So that's my research field for perhaps 20 years.
Thank you. And lastly, Jesper, please.
Yes, hi. My name is Jesper. I come from the Svemin, the Swedish Association of Mining, Mineral and Metal Producers. So my areas that I work with skills, lifelong learning, of course, and also very much of the Swedish educational system, mostly focusing on the blue collars, but also some on the white collars.
Thank you. Yeah, and the blue collar, white collar balance is also something that was mentioned by Mr. Albinsson in the case studies in the keynote talks, and during our previous discussion, Jesper, you also mentioned that it's important to try to focus on the right skills and how can we do this kind of thing. And I understand that you have been working with Swedish industry to look at what are the right skills and how can we make sure that we drive in the right direction in this type of also social transition.
Mm-hmm. So in Sweden, we have a very close collaboration in the whole industry sector. So we are collaborating very much with the steel or pulp and paper, but also the vehicle and the food industry. And what is very striking is that when we're talking about competences, we always see more or less the same need for the same, more or less the same competences. You need good knowledge in the STEM, also for the blue collars, not only for the white collars, but you need like a basic knowledge in those in mathematics and engineering sciences and technology. And also, I think we're also discussing very much now, how can we make sure that you can increase your knowledge while you're still when you're employed also. So we're not only focusing on the educational system, how can we make this so that the students have the right competences, but also how can we increase the competences that are employed. And then when we're talking about this green transition, we don't. It's hard to define exactly what is needed. And then we're also working very much to secure that the companies who actually may know that they can influence also the educational system, and not only for the gymnasium, for example, but also for the high school universities and also the research at the universities. We work very much to create collaboration. One is called the Technique College. Another one is that we're trying to make sure that the universities listens to the industry and switch and make sure that that the educational system is suitable for the industry afterwards.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective. I think also, related to this, talk about new skills and master programs, and I know that EIT is also very active in this area, but this is like a long-term and short-term investment, right? Mm-hmm. Just like a mine, it takes some time to motivate students, educate them, and then have them to work. So that there's a lead up, and we also need to do something now in our society and in our existing companies, and I think this also relates to creating the right type of environment for work, psychological safety, diversity, and how we work with different groups there. Perhaps Lena, can you comment on this area?
Yes, what we can see so far that is that the mining industry has for many years been quite aware of the challenge to recruit, to have a broader recruitment base, to be able to recruit both women and men, and many different women and men in both for the blue collar, but also for the white collar. So there is a high level awareness of the problem and their own shortcomings. They have some insights that they know they can do better in some aspects, because they have a history of being very much male-dominated and quite homosocial workplaces and organization, and that has been and still is a problem to when they want to have this kind of creative, innovative environment. But there has been taking quite many steps for the last years, and so we can see quite a positive development the last years. So I really hope that we can see even more, because I think for each time the sector is taking a step towards this more gender mixed and also diversity in many other aspects, to a more inclusive diversity. I think we can see it will be easier and easier to go forward, because the start has been quite tough. So what we see is that sometimes the industry has been focusing on recruiting women, mostly focusing on the minority, the problems, so to say. And what probably is needed is to focus a little bit more on the majority, meaning the people that actually are in the sector, and trying to change the workplaces, the work organization, the professions from within. And as far as I can see, this is important steps, and much is going on in these aspects. It means that you really need to challenge this kind of idea. So what is the real skills? What is the real mining work, for example? And we see new pictures coming more and more. But we saw also in one of the case studies that we have still a bit work to do in these questions.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Thank you for that perspective. And I think in addition to what you could call mainstream diversity of for example, gender equality and also people with a migration background, etc., there will also be a larger, a more systemic societal shift in industry and other workplaces, right? If you start reskilling, upskilling people to be able to deal with these new requirements. Do you have a perspective on this type of change as well? So you will also be dealing with what's called ageism, for example, or how do you pivot to a very different type of industry when you're, for example, 50 or even closer to retirement, for example? How can companies deal with this, and how can we support this?
I can add on that, because it's important here when you develop the workplaces. We have old workplaces and old technology in this sector quite a lot, but we also have new workplaces, new production centers, new technology coming in, and then we have a unique situation opportunity that we can build attractive workplaces and attractive situation that can suit a lot of different type of we can solve this type of problems before they appear, because if we in the early phases of technology development, in the before you start building the workplaces, if you build them based on this kind of human-centric, to put people, both women and men and all type of women and men, in the center of technology development, then we have the possibility to build workplaces that can be work tasks and work tools that can be used for all type of people. But it's another type of way of developing technology to build technology on human terms, instead of doing this afterwards. So I mean that you need to do this from the beginning. And that's a challenge because it's another way of doing technology development.
Yeah. Thank you for that. There are so many topics that spring to mind here because it's such a diverse topic, pun intended. I think also Didier mentioned in his keynote talk very big shift in terms of new jobs created, and we're talking about I believe 8 million people in the resource-related industries, and 1.2 or in renewables, and 1.2 specifically in mining and metals. So this is an enormous shift, and I think EIT is doing a lot here to provide a platform for this change. Can you perhaps reflect on what kind of contributions your organization is making here, Didier?
Yes, absolutely. So far we have developed a huge portfolio, I would say, of education projects that do address, I would say, students. For EIT level master program, we have 9 currently running. We are able to bring something like 250, even more, new students on the market every year. We have also developed some learning models for a doctoral school where we do interlink PhD students with industry. And we have also developed more than 40 modules for lifelong learning. And for this, for example, we have looked precisely what are the mega trends topic into innovation. And we have aligned, I would say, the development of new courses we address to our partners to this mega trends of innovation. So it's about battery materials, it's about rare elements and magnets. And so we are convinced that we have a very good basis of learning models that we can address to not only the raw material sectors, but also to startups, to procurement department, to policy market, and so on. And we want to develop this portfolio addressing the specific needs of these different target audience. We have defined 6 target audience, and we want to establish a platform that will effectively facilitate the matchmaking between the industry needs and the students or the workers in other kind of activities that could effectively jump into the metals and mineral sector.
Yes, you mentioned innovation as a key part of this change, which is, I guess, kind of obvious, but and I think many people agree with this. But how to do this, and how can we create an environment that encourages entrepreneurship, so building new things in existing companies, and how can we develop such an environment, and what is EIT and your team perhaps doing in this area?
Yeah, exactly. Innovation and entrepreneurship has always been a very strong, I would say, dimension in the different higher education programs we have developed, meaning the master degree and the PhD doctoral school. Meaning, for example, for the masters, besides the modules, the training modules on entrepreneurship and innovation, we also do bring these master students to many different events. For example, we do organize the race, which is a 2-week parcours where we bring the students to many different facilities, mining facilities, recycling facilities, and so on. We also do invite, companies to sponsorize this event. They have the possibility to also bring some case studies for the students to think about out of the box. To summarize it, all these trainings we have developed have effectively a high dimension in innovation and entrepreneurship. And looking today, to the many startups we have supported, more than 400 startups we have supported since in the last 6 years. It really illustrates very well, I would say, the innovation that occurs in the mining sectors, in the processing, in the refining, in advanced materials. There is a huge need. And coming back to entrepreneurship, we can see today that a few companies are turning into open innovation, meaning they're looking for expert out of their company. Some believe that if they have one expert, there probably are 5 more into industry, RTO, or the industry, they could effectively team up with them. So entrepreneurship is also a dimension we can bring. And I would say bringing innovation, entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship dimension, I really believe that this could attract students to the mining and metals companies.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that perspective. Egbert, about this, we talked about creating an environment, focusing on the right things. We don't have all the answers, but we're moving in a certain direction. Didier, you also just mentioned open innovation, external experts, and matchmaking. Also, from my own perspective, from my own experience, studying working in different countries, this also means moving around, and this must also be a key topic, workforce mobility for DG employment that you are working with.
Sure, Gijsbert. I will comment on the free movement aspect in a sec, if you allow. I mean, but just complementing what has just been said by the other panel members, I think all of us, and certainly the panel members, have been dealing with skills needs in the raw materials industries for quite some time, a lot of expertise. But maybe I would also agree that it's only the last couple of years that we have given this such a prominent attention. If you look at typically the mining industry that focused in the past on commodity prices, the quality of ore and the location and equipment, we saw the big trucks, etc., and physical assets, processing plants, etc., legislation. And I think that now talent. I mean, if you would follow the discussions in the boardrooms beyond the human resource departments, I think that talent and ensuring that you have the right staff in the sector is predominant now. So this is really the enabler for true value driver in the sector and upstream and downstream industries. And and this fits well with the focus of the European Year for Skills, and of course with the objective of the European Green Deal, what it really is our blueprint for this transformational change. And the critical raw materials sector is really the crucial sector in this context. And I think already we heard from the different speakers a lot. I mean, from how to increase the attractiveness of the sector, being rather male-dominated, the accountability, the image, the safety, career development. So I mean, this looks all very promising. And I think from the Commission side, with our communication in March this year, where we really also focused on the subject of skills in the raw materials sector, announcing the need for large-scale partnerships on CRMs with stakeholders and public authorities, and then also the Raw Materials Academy, which is proposed to be established and on which we already have had discussions. I mean, this is really promising. So we are late, but not too late. But now we have to rise up to the occasion and address the skills shortages. Because this morning I had a similar discussion in the EU construction industry, and they face the same needs and challenges as you. So there's internal competition on this. Yeah, on the free movement, of course. I mean, this is all one of our basic rights, and so far only around 4% of EU citizens live in another country, Gijsbert. Then, of course, in addition to that, we have also a posting, short-term postings, and we also have cross-border crossings of experts. But in the end, there's still more scope maybe for that. And for the raw materials, to be honest, but there the experts are sitting in the panel. I don't know how the composition is of workers, since raw materials and mining in particular are focused in certain regions. I don't know whether there's a lot of cross-border movements there, or that you primarily rely on the resources you have in the region. If so, then there's even bigger need also to have local skills options, that people visit, that trainers visit the companies, rather that people have to go to educational institutions, because that can be somewhat time wise, not so efficient. It also focuses on how you can keep your current workforce in the industry by prolonging working lives, by enabling them to have work-life balance, by enabling to go to training courses regularly, etc., etc. But yeah, I look forward to further discussions now. Thank you.
I can just say that to Egbert that I also recognize that so much has happened for if you take a 10 years perspective here. I have been quite many times on what I sometimes called mining conferences, but it's mining research conferences, for example, of future mining. And a little bit more than 10 years ago, there was absolutely no discussions about humans, the situation, skills, this kind of what sometimes it is called soft aspects. There were no discussions. There was something about safety, of course, but almost nothing about social sustainability and that kind of issues. But after a couple of years, these questions were actually in the keynote presentations, and a large part of the conference themes around these questions. So from being totally invisible when it comes to mining, production, technology conferences, of course in the HR the questions have been discussed, but move it into the core of the sector, where the core of the production, it has been going on for quite fast now, the last 10 years or something. So I think for me, when I'm on my optimistic mood, I would say that this is good progress when it comes to these questions.
Can I just add something here, Gijsbert? Thanks. No, I totally agree. I worked with this for 7 years, and I've seen a big change during this, I must say. And I think also it's a little bit of the emergent situation, especially here in the northern part of Sweden, I would say. Maybe I get fired tomorrow, but I think my companies sometimes have a little bit of this fat cat syndrome. They can pay very high salaries, and they do normally, and then they think that everyone would just want to work because we have high salaries, and then they don't have some high demands. But as we talk about these technology shifts, and you also need other competences and perhaps a little bit of higher competences normally also. And we talk about IT, big data, those kind of things. They are competing with Volvo or Spotify or H&M or Zalando in Germany, and so the competitiveness is much higher. So they must. So I think they started to get a little bit nervous. But how can we find these people at all? I mean, and then also not only find them, had to attract them to these parts, as Johan Albinsson at Boliden said. Also to these rural areas. It's not in Stockholm we have in the mines. It's up in the north mostly. So, and also the companies are also doing a higher value products. They just don't take up many rocks anymore. They do more higher value products, and that also means you also need then higher competence or skills throughout the whole value chain, or the whole chain at the companies. I mean, from the blue collars up to for the professors at universities. So it's the higher demand, and also I mean the competitiveness is much higher. And also we had a lot of new industry up in the same areas that mining companies are in Sweden. For example, the Northvolt, we're doing the batteries. If they want to employ 3,000 people, I think, or maybe 4,000. That's a lot of people that they want to move to these parts of Sweden. It's not so easy. And then they will see also, okay, we have other industries here. Maybe we can attract them or not. So it's So it's not enough to be a fat cat anymore. You have to be a tiger or something else more flexible and fast.
Isn't it also about the type of say public awareness of why why the mining industry or the mining and metals industry broader is important and where the materials come from? I think we're building more and more awareness of this, but I think some of the primary production, for example, in northwestern France, there's some new battery plants will be built. It's not so much a mining thing, but of course using these type of materials. And also I know that in the for example, the recycling industry, there's a lot of companies struggling to get talent. DJ, do you perhaps have a view on how for example EIT can play a role here, or in building this awareness, how the value chain is connected, and how we also need to connect this talent, and perhaps there are schemes that you are working on in this area?
Absolutely. If you look effectively to these 4 large projects in northern France on gigafactories, you can think about, I mean, how many jobs will be created, but also you have to think about that when a gigafactory is starting. I mean, they have a lot of scraps from the battery materials. Then you need effectively to make sure that there is also there are some skills for the recycling of these materials, and you have also to make sure that there are some skills for the refining of these materials that will go into the processing of anodes and cathodes. So I think that we are at a stage where we see some gaps in the raw materials value chain between, for example, the extraction of, for example, of lithium that could happen, for example, in France, because there is a large project ongoing by Imerys. There is a gap in refining. So you need effectively to make sure that you have some skills and competences in refining technology, in chemistry, and so on. You have also to make sure that there are some skills for the recycling and so on. So the gaps should first be effectively bridged, I mean, refining, recycling, and then absolutely clear, there will be effectively skills and expertise needed effectively to implement this, I would say, part of the value chain that are currently missing. So I would say Europe raw materials chain is under construction. We know there are some gaps. We can speak about gaps in the battery value chain, in the magnets value chain, and so on. And once these gaps will be identified, once effectively there will be some large investment to implement these facilities to bridge these gaps, then of course there will be a huge need. And what we have to do, we have to prepare, and it starts now by having an ambitious, effectively, goal and challenge. We have to prepare what will happen in the coming years, meaning being able to bridge these gaps, bring the skills, bring the talents, reskilling and upskilling people to effectively make sure that we will be able to run these facilities. Facilities is not only about investment, it's also about skills and expertise to run them efficiently.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective. I think in this area of building new plants, getting the people there, whether it's a mine or a manufacturing or recycling plant, it also involves new things in people, but also we will need to start looking at permitting, and you, DJ, and maybe it's also a question for Egbert, that we're also looking at capacity to build the evaluation capacity within governments, for example, to deal with this permitting schemes. And perhaps I could ask Egbert to comment on this, and maybe Didier afterwards, as you mentioned specifically, also public-private partnerships in this area. Thank you.
Indeed, Gijsbert, I mean, interesting that you ask. Indeed, of course, the EU can support member states' public administration capacity, because I mean, it's clear that those people working in public administrations, working on permitting, for example, would also be profiting from specific support to lift up the administrative capacity to process requests quicker, which will then support the raw materials value chain. And we have an open call until October 23, and member states can apply. And maybe I will send you the link, and then this can be widely shared. Overall, I would say, I mean, on what our panel members said, I really think also that we have to work very at early age. If you want to interest, like in the construction sector, a director of a constructing company said we should almost propose that children start playing again with Lego, see what materials can do, be creative. At all levels, also not strive only for academic level, because we always also need lots of people with a vocational educational training background to also motivate young people. And then next to up and reskilling, that was addressed already a few times now in our discussion, but really motivate young people to have an interest in these kind of professions that are so critically important. I mean, all the windmills which we are constructing, all the batteries, all of this without raw material sector is impossible. So let them be part of a bigger dream for Europe and for competing companies. Get rid of the old image of mining companies, see raw materials as critical for creating a Europe that can compete at the world level in sustainable technologies. And that is the dream we have to do. And the Commission, we have many possibilities to finance. There's funding mechanisms there also for centers of vocational excellence. There's the partnerships, which you have the large-scale partnerships. Now the Pact for Skills. Now we have to interest people to join that. It's not a question of funding. It's a question of finding people that want to invest in learning and come to your sector. And we are there also to support with ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed, permitting is a very important point. In May this year, we have organized the RawMaterials Summit in Brussels, and I was the owner of one session on the lithium industry, and we have invited four speakers. I mean, who really have strong ideas of new facilities for mining, for extraction, refining, and when we ask them, I mean, the top, I would say, priority they have today, it's first effectively talents, which is an important point, and secondly, effectively, permitting. And for this, effectively, we have identified amongst our 6 target audience for the RawMaterials Academy. We have identified effectively one target, which will be the public authorities and the policymakers. And I strongly believe that we have the learning models we can easily adapt effectively to highlight the level of knowledge and expertise of these people effectively to much better effectively go into this evaluation of the project and facilitating and shortening the permitting.
Thank you, Lena. I believe that you also had a comment on this area, what it also means for communities and people moving in, related, I think, also social license to operate. Would you?
Yeah, I just started to think it can be good to note that the society, the smaller municipality societies that are in the north of Sweden, especially that are surrounding that are in the mining areas, so to say, they're quite small. And what they are experiencing now is an inflow of people, especially during the building phase, the ramp up phase for some of the some part of them, but it has been going on for quite a while. And these groups of people, they are from they are specialists, many of them, and some of them are blue-collar workers, of course. But the problem is that the societies, they have a challenge to handle this because they do not have the infrastructure, the schools, the hospitals, the roads, and the houses, the buildings. People can't have that. So it's a challenge, and it's also a social challenge for the people that come there to a new place, and they don't bring their family, and they are there for this kind of fly in, fly out. So it's sometimes not a very good situation. And that is even in bigger cities, for example, where and the same is for Northvolt when they are building their factories now. So it is a challenge, and this can create problems that affect negatively to the social license to operate, because it's a huge challenge. So we need to deal with this in a good way to help the municipalities to develop, because after a while this big inflow of people perhaps will slow down, and if we are too dependent on just one employer in a small society, it's very vulnerable, and especially if you have this gender segregated labor market, then you are really vulnerable. So you have to be a little bit more for the communities, the societies. They need to handle this in a way, and we need to help them because they are quite small and they need help methods to do this also.
Yes, thank you. I very much agree. I would love to continue with this conversation and many different interesting perspectives, and it was great to have also a very blended panel here. Could I ask you to give a short, maybe a closing statement or something you would like to leave the audience with for a minute or two, and then I will close this event, and thank you. Perhaps we can start in the same order. I believe that the first person was Egbert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Gijsbert, and really many thanks to the panel members and you for the interesting discussions. I think I don't need to say anything further than that this is such an essential topic and an essential sector in a crucial time of climate change and rethinking our new economic model with the Green Deal and being confronted with the demographic aging. Many people will retire, the baby boomers. At the same time, we rely on your sector, on mining companies and other up and downstream industries to provide us with the solar, wind, and heat pumps, and therefore I think if the mining sector is thriving, is competitive, is sustainable, is inclusive, then this also has a major impact on these industries and on society, helping us to make this transition. But in all of this, the human component is critical. So let us think how we can interest people, how we can work with people, how people can invest in their own skills and up in reskilling and really make skills the key driving factor for a sustainable mining industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. Could you also provide a closing statement, please?
Yeah, my point of view is that mining and metal processing has changed a lot. I mean, today we have it's modern, it's innovative, it can support value like Green Deal, energy transition, sustainability, circularity, digitalization. So we have a lot of keywords, I would say, that should effectively attract talents to this industry. And we can see it right now. I mean, out of our something like 200 students, master students, we do graduate every year. I mean, we have more than 40% which are women. And also we have 70% that goes to the industry, meaning that there is a good alignment between the learnings we do provide and also the needs of the industry. So I think it's a good momentum. I would consider that no, I mean, the industry has to promote this change. It has to promote that they're innovative, that there is place for modernity, there is place for talents, there is place for open innovation, there is place for entrepreneurship. And with this, I mean, I'm convinced that we can build a strong European, I would say, a value chain on raw materials.
Thank you.
I would say that I totally agree with both of you, and I would say that it's important that we also bring in the human perspective and the social perspective into the development, the very physical development of technology and workplaces. So we will use this knowledge not only building organizations and education, but also building the technology. So I would just add that.
So I'm the last one. So thank you also, Gijsbert, and the panel, of course, for this very nice discussions. When we talk about the boards of the member companies, for example, Boliden or KUBY, they're talking about three things. It's about the permits, the energy, and then also the competence question. So it's very high up in the prioritization list. Still, when we're talking a little bit more with them, they're not so sure what to say all the time. What does it mean? How should we solve this enormous question about competence in the future also? So we're still on a little bit of a new road here, I would say, even though it has been very much, the awareness is very much better today than it has been before. And also when we talk about the competence, we think if we need new competences, we think about recruiting. So I would also like to point out how can we use those that are already employed and transforming or giving them new competences and skills, and so that they can fulfill or prosper within the work, and also that the companies can get the new skills and prosper also the companies. And as I heard, the EIT is making a lot of new courses, so I think that could be a very good way to secure the future business.
Well, thank you very much, Jesper, for that last closing statement, and many thanks to all the panel participants. Very much enjoyed speaking with you. Well, I won't show you all these papers here, but I have a lot more questions I would have for you, and I'm sure that the audience would also be very interested in continuing on this important topic. Well, when I first got into touch with Euromines about this topic, we had some brainstorming sessions, and we looked at well, what could be the background of this type of topic, and the narrative around skills, around raw materials is very much skewed towards negative things, towards shortages, towards we have to secure this and we have to defend that against X, Y, Z. Of course, some of these things are true, but a narrative talking about skill shortages, declining workforce, shifting away from fossil fuels, etc. And these are quite negative and scary things and terms. But from this conversation and the prep conversations that we have had, I got a much more positive feeling for a lot more opportunities as well. We have a lot of challenges, of course, and don't have all the answers, but we're creating 8 million jobs, 1.2 million in raw materials and processing alone. I think that's an enormous opportunity to also create something new and create a new type of work where we can also leverage this societal shift to in addition to make it a sustainable shift, also make it a positive human shift, and that's something that I also very much got from this talk. And you mentioned Didier, I believe 70% of the raw materials students end up in the raw materials sector. That also means that 30% end up in other sectors, which is fantastic, because then in other sectors it might be banking, it might be administration, etc. we also build an awareness of how material value chains work. And I think this broader understanding of the industry and what mining and metals and processing, and also on the secondary side, the recycling, what that means to society, I think that's very important to highlight here. And I would like to thank the European Commission for organizing the European Green Week, the EU Green Week, and having this Euromines event as part of this. And I hope that, across governments, academia, and industry, new programs are being developed and to help support this twin transition, and also can facilitate this societal shift towards a sustainable, inclusive, and competitive raw materials industry. And with that, I hope to leave you also with some positivity and hope here in this area. And thank you very much for your attention, and I'd be happy to be in touch with any questions or further conversations. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.